What's up, everybody? Mark with Coffee and Toys here, and today's video is going to address the state of the union for G.I. Joe, the franchise overall, classified, third-party licensees, O-Ring, everything about it, comics. We're going to talk about the state of the union of G.I. Joe as a franchise, and I hope you enjoy hanging out with me today, so let's just jump right into it. Okay, we'll start with talking about 2023 and what a year for G.I. Joe it was. We saw here in the last year, 2023, G.I. Joe, the license left IDW, is now part of Skybound Entertainment. We have the comic Real American Hero is still continuing. It's just by a new publisher now. We have a lot of new G.I. Joe comics starting up. We have the Energon universe. And we're just talking comics. I mean, the comics are doing well. The toy lines are doing well with a little bit of an exception, and we'll get to that. But 2023, as far as G.I. Joe, there was a lot of positive things in that. When it comes to Classified, obviously that's probably what most of you want to hear about. We know Classified this year, just the G.I. Joe team at Hasbro knocked our socks off repeatedly. We got 57 figures in 2023, and most of them came at the tail end of the year. And man, I don't know about you, my wallet was hurting at the end of 2023, but I'm actually in the process right now of reorganizing my shelves because I have so many classified figures I need to get actually out to display. And not only classified, 2023, we were able to see, let's see, the Sky Striker HasLab. Was that this year? Was that 2023? Did we get those this year or was that last year? That was last year. This year, obviously, the HasLab we got was the Hiss Tank from Classified series, and you can see that up here on my shelf. And yeah, just so many figures. We have Super 7 announced at the end of the year that they are going to be taking over the O-Ring license for G.I. Joe. The O-Ring figures are still, I'm assuming, going to be part of Hasbro, but in 2023, really the only thing we got for the O-Rings was the Thunder Machine Soundwave Transformer set with Zartan and Zorana, which was very cool. I need to get that reviewed. It's still sitting down here and on the floor in a package. But yeah, there is lots of things that happened in 2023 that are making the state of G.I. Joe for 2024 that much more positive and successful. And I think now that we're at this part, let's jump into what I feel 2024 is going to bring for this lineup. And before I jump into what I think 2024 is going to have in store for us, what I anticipate seeing, make sure you like this video. Make sure you drop a comment down below, especially what you feel like is going to happen in 2024 and how you feel the state of the union is for G.I. Joe as a franchise overall. So when it comes to the toy line G.I. Joe for 2024, we know that Classified is the bread and butter for Hasbro. This line is by far, when it comes to action figures at Hasbro, has to be making the most profitability for them. Now, what do I mean by that? You could argue the Transformers, but I say that G.I. Joe probably makes the most profitability for Hasbro out of any toy line they do because it is a fully held IP by Hasbro. There's no licensing fee associated with it. Transformers does have their agreement with, is it Takara? Is that who does it? Tomy Takara? Drop me a comment if I'm wrong on that. I am a little shaky on my Transformer toys nowadays. But G.I. Joe doesn't have to license this out, and they are going to continue to produce figures for 2024. We are already at, I have some notes up here, we are already at 30 figures announced that are going to be coming out in 2024. 30 figures already announced in the pipeline. Some were slated for 2024. As a matter of fact, one of those figures is Mutt and Junkyard that I'm sure a lot of you who have pre-ordered it are probably receiving right now or very, very shortly. So those 2024 figures, we're in the first week of January, and they are already starting to hit doorsteps. 30 figures have already been announced, planned for 2024. And, if they did 57 last year in the Classified series, and we're already at 30 announced for 2024, oh man, our wallets are probably going to take another beating this year, and that's the way it is. It's a beating, but it's a good beating. Maybe that makes us sadist, I don't know, or masochist, I don't know. But yeah, the G.I. Joe Classified series is going strong. The other big thing about the Classified series lineup for this year is that we will be getting our second HasLab is set to drop this summer, and that is the Dragonfly. Now, we just got the Hiss Tank, and that one took a while to get here, so now they're, slated Dragonfly for summer of 2024. We'll see how that goes. I'm kind of anticipating it getting pushed back, similar to how the Hiss Tank was. But again, we have gotten 2 HasLabs from Hasbro for the Classified line, and that's not too bad. They're making money on that one again with no licensee they have to pay out for. They are doing very, very well. And let's see. Let's talk other people that are licensing the G.I. Joe IP. And I'm excited because Hiya Toys continues to roll out more of the G.I. Joe line, and it seems to be based on the designs that Hasbro originally intended for Classified. So it's nice to see those designs still being able to get out. I actually just got my first Hiya figures, which I haven't even opened yet, and I will have a review on those, of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. And Snake Eyes pretty much looks like the Snake Eyes we got in Classified, but Storm Shadow, obviously they changed him around quite a bit from what he originally was going to be to what we actually got as a Classified figure. But it's great to see Hiya Toys continuing that lineup for 2024. I mean, we've got, Cobra Commander, Flint, Tiger Force Flint, Gung Ho, Cobra Trooper. The list goes on. Beachhead, Baroness. So many figures being done by Hiya Toys. 2024 is just looking to be a solid year if you are a 4-inch, 3 3/4 inch, 4-inch collector. And let's just stick with that same scale of figure. We have Super 7 announcing at the end of 2023 that they are going to be doing the O-rings for G.I. Joe. They gave us a preview with their Cobra Mothership, which unfortunately did not fund, but they did say during that they were going to produce an O-ring Cobra Trooper Viper figure, and that has since come to light that we are going to get O-ring figures of the Sunbow, Deke, and some deep cut comic characters for the G.I. Joe line in 3 3/4 inch, 4-inch scale format, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, that's coming. That's all happening here also in 2024. And you tell me if you feel like, is that something you're interested in? A lot of people, when it came to the G.I. Joe retro figures that were coming out between 2021, 2022, 2023 from Hasbro, that they were inferior products. There was some talk about whether that was all just, contracted out and wasn't done in-house by Hasbro. But now that we know, at least with Hiya Toys and Super 7, you have a pretty strong pedigree of figure makers. Both companies make solid figures. Now, we could argue with Super 7 on the as far as the 5 POA G.I. Joe figures that came out over the last couple of years, and I know a lot of people hate on those, but by the same token, if we look at their Ultimate figures, I think for the most part, you can say the Ultimates line through Super 7 is a great line. And in my personal opinion, I think in 2024, we're going to see figures similar to the Ultimates, just shrank down in size for us retro 3 3/4 inch O-ring collectors. So that makes me very excited. But you guys tell me down in the comments below. Are you excited for Super 7? Are you excited for Hiya? Is there one you like over the other? I think they both fit great into collections. And as much as I like the Classified line, I am still a 4-inch figure format at heart. That's what I like. Don't get me wrong, I like the Classified figures a lot, but deep down, I love 4-inch figures. I think they display very well. And, that's what G.I. Joe was originally based on. I mean, we could argue it's based on the 12-inch characters from 1963, but that's a real American hero, was born in 4-inch, and for me, that's always where it will stay. But at this point, what else we got? I think if we want to go back to Classified for a minute, I really do want to get your opinion on this too. I mentioned earlier in 2023, we really took a wallop to our wallets. the price of the classified figures is slowly creeping up. And, a basic, I shouldn't say basic, just a regular classified figure is $25 MSRP, with deluxe figures being anywhere from $30 to $45, depending on what you get. And then getting the vehicle figures that are in the $100 range, give or take, a few dollars either way. I am starting to feel like as much money as the team has put into, the Hasbro G.I. Joe team has put into creating new figures with new unique molds, I feel like at least in 2024, we are probably going to see some more repaints. I think we're going to see more Night Force. We're going to see more, the Night Force being the Walmart exclusive line, the retro line, which not sure, the classified retro line I'm talking about. I'm not sure if that's going to stay as a Walmart Hasbro Pulse exclusive or if they're going to branch it out. There have been some, from what I've been seeing online and reading online, that maybe Target's starting to get some of those retro figures as well. There's been some leaked DCPI numbers that are retro classified figures. So maybe that retro line is going to be more than just Walmart now. Very interested in kind of keeping on the pulse on that, so to speak. But we're going to get more repaints. They're going to make the most of their molds, and many folks say that, and I completely agree with it. So we will see more Night Force, more Tiger Force, more Python Patrol. There's rumors that we might, for example, get a Python Patrol Cobra Commander, which never existed in the original toy line. Now, Super 7 did do recently a Python Patrol reaction figure, and again, they were just kind of branching out, but maybe we'll see something similar like that with the classified line. But I feel for 2024, the classified line is going to rely a lot on repaints to recoup some of that money that Hasbro spent on those molds to have them made. And that means it, just like in the 80s and the 90s, they're going to keep pumping out figures in different color schemes, different color palettes. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that has any bearing? Do you think that's something we'll see in 2024? You think we're going to get just more and more original characters? I think it's going to be a little bit split. I mean, right now, if we already have 30 announced figures for 2024, I feel like with the classified line, they've got to offset a lot of that with figures that are just rehashes, repaints. And we can take a moment to also talk about exclusives. Of course, San Diego Comic-Con will give us another set of exclusives this year. We haven't been privy to what it is yet. It's only January. But there's going to be a lot of events, just like there has been every other year. You're going to have Yojo June, which generally gives us a preview of what's happening on the back half of the year, including San Diego Comic-Con for releases. We have our hints that we're getting on box art, which I guess that's a good thing we should talk about too. For classified, we are officially returning in 2024 to the window packaging. So when it comes to those quality control issues that plagued the latter half of 2023, at least now will we be able to see our figures before we buy them sight unseen. If we see a Mutton Junkyard, for example, that is missing paint apps in his beard mustache area, we can now at least decide we're not buying that one and choose another one off the pegs. It's really nice to have the plastic window packaging returning, and it's great that they kept the aesthetics of the box art for the windowless packaging, and they've just built that into this new window packaging. Really, really glad for that. Hopefully our QC issues will be less in 2024. That's really the biggest thing I can see for 2024 that was kind of a hindrance in 2023 that I feel Hasbro really needs to improve upon. And yeah, I think as far as the toy line, we are looking really solid. To touch on the comics again, the comics are going to continue throughout 2024. We've got a Real American Hero storyline going very strong. We have the Energon universe, which if you're checking out my channel, I'm doing reviews on all these comics, so make sure you check out some of those videos. We have Cobra Commander issue 1 launching this month in January, which will tie into that Energon universe, similar to how Duke is tying into that universe, which is a fantastic read. Highly recommend it. And yeah, I think between the comics and the toys, G.I. Joe is really firing on all 4 cylinders. And I think I really want to give you some final thoughts on 2024. Even though we're just into it, I want to kind of take a moment to talk about G.I. Joe in 2024 and how that is stacked up to everything we've seen over the last 40 years. So here are my final thoughts as I close out this State of the Union for G.I. Joe of 2024. I wanted to close out the State of the Union by talking about a topic. I was going to make it its own video, but I think it's better to include it just here because it's not going to be overly long. My question, this isn't a question, but I'm going to ask you at the end what your thoughts are. Are we in a renaissance of G.I. Joe? Now, what do I mean by that? Some people might call it a golden age of G.I. Joe. I'm going to call it a renaissance. Maybe a resurgence would be a good word. But where we are at with this line today, as it stands right now, with the classified line specifically, leading the charge has classified, spearheaded a renaissance in the G.I. Joe collector community. My answer is yes. Yes, it has. I have been privy, and I'm sure a lot of you have been as well, to have enjoyed at least 3 separate occasions, arguably 4, since A Real American Hero debuted in 1982. Obviously, the majority of us were kids when A Real American Hero was out between 82 and 94. And to a lot of people, that is the pinnacle of G.I. Joe. It's the nostalgia. When we go back and we think about it, that's the best time of G.I. Joe for a lot of people. However, we had the modern era, started with the 25th anniversary of the Real American Hero. And those figures were such, they took O-Ring and just took it to the next level with the design aesthetics, the accessories. And truly, I thought at that point, G.I. Joe cannot ever be better than what it is with the modern era. However, here I am in 2024, and the modern era ended, depending on where you want to stop the timeline, it ended somewhere in 2017, 2018, somewhere in that area. It's kind of when it finally rounded down and it was done. And here we are in 2024 talking about a 6-inch G.I. Joe classified series line that in the last 4 years has just been torpedoing and making Hasbro a ton of money, taking money out of our wallets, and bringing the collector community together. I have never seen so many YouTube videos, Facebook groups, you name it, talking about G.I. Joe. We have, mentioned earlier, we have Hiya Toys, we have Super 7, we have different companies, toy companies, wanting to get their piece of the G.I. Joe pie. So the argument, I feel, is that we are in a renaissance. The figures are a new scale. They're being produced by other companies, and we are on the front end of it still. I can see G.I. Joe going for at least, with the classified line, at least another 2 or 3 more years. Now, I don't know if it'll go much further than that. Again, I'm not Hasbro. I'm just a guy like any of you out there, just a collector that enjoys this lineup. But if they try to truly go through the classified line, and if you've got Hiya Toys producing alternate versions of same characters in a way we haven't seen them, and we have Super 7 over here creating figures of Sunbow and Deke cartoon figures that have never been done, this line could go for another 2 to 3 years easily. And I shouldn't say line. This G.I. Joe could stay in this renaissance period for another 2 or 3 years easily. Now, generally what winds up happening in here, and this is, I am winding this down, so I appreciate you guys hanging out. If you could give a like, I'd really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe too while you're down there. Hit the bell notification for all notifications, because I put a few videos out every week. and it really helps the channel. Make sure you comment as well. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I slurp my coffee too much. I've had all sorts of weird comments lately, and I love them. I read every single comment, good and bad, and I try to respond to all of them. But that being said, the next couple years, are they going to give us another G.I. Joe movie is a question I see batted around every once in a while. And generally what happens is we get a movie and it kills the toy line, right? Because, take Snake Eyes, the movie. That was bad. That was not good. That movie was not great. It was a fun movie, but it was not a good G.I. Joe movie. And the toy line did not help Classified whatsoever. So for me, personally, I don't want to see a G.I. Joe movie unless they do it right. Now, we know that at the end of the latest Transformers movie, they had a tease for G.I. Joe. So let's make the assumption that's where it's going. Hasbro, if that's the way it's going, there has to be another movie tied to this IP. Do it right this time. Do not. You do it like the Marvel Legends. Give us, some movie figures, but still keep up with the regular Classified. Don't give us just a whole bunch of movie figures that don't make any sense. If you want to intersperse some regular Classified in with movie figures, that's fine. But don't stop one to start the other. Please, I'm begging you, Hasbro. But we are in a renaissance age of G.I. Joe where we are at the 6-inch scale format is the primary format. I understand it. I enjoy it. I fully see it going for another 2 to 3 years easily. They've got a lot of characters they can still crank out between years of 82 and 94, and they don't even have to do that. Obviously, they branched out with folks like Shooter, who wasn't even a figure until the modern era, Kamakura, who wasn't there until Valor versus Venom. And again, they're creating new characters, so I'm spacing on the new character's name already. Who's the new one we just got? Not Helix. Why am I? It's a female character. Or am I thinking of Jodie? Didn't we get another female character? As he turns and looks. I don't know. Half my figures are laying on the ground. But they are willing to always dive into new characters. I like that. There's plenty of stuff to keep this line going for another 2 or 3 years. But with all that said, what do you folks feel? G.I. Joe, where's it at right now? What is your State of the Union for G.I. Joe in 2024? I would love to know. I would love to know what you disagree with from what I've said already. Tell me what are you looking forward to? What has kept you in this line and that you just can't wait to see in 2024? Is it the new HasLab? What HasLabs are you wanting to see? There's a poll going on right now. I'm sure a lot of you visit the website histank.com. There's a poll going on right now. What do you want the next HasLab to be? And the crazy thing is, this will be if they decide to do it, it'll be the third HasLab for the G.I. Joe Classified series. That's crazy. G.I. Joe is no Star Wars. And yet we have been 100% successful on all our HasLabs. So again, kudos to the community. And again, why we are in a renaissance right now. This is a great time to be a G.I. Joe fan, a G.I. Joe figure collector, a G.I. Joe comic reader. I completely forgot to mention, we have G.I. Joe video game coming out. I think it's slated for 2024. Drop me a comment if I'm wrong, but I think that first person, or maybe it's a third person shooter, is slated to drop this year. And even if it's not, the fact that a G.I. Joe game is in the works furthers the point that this is a renaissance age of G.I. Joe. I'm still hesitant to call it the golden age, but we could argue that on another video. So, with that being said, the State of the Union for G.I. Joe in 2024 is good. I'm Mark. You've been watching Coffee with Toys, and I'll see you later.